Yesterday I celebrated my 33rd birthday, and while I am still a few decades away from being able to eat off the seniors menu, I realized that 33 years is a decent amount of time to have spent on the spinning blue ball. So I compiled them into this beautiful list of 33 of my most important life lessons at 33 years old. They are ranked in no order of importance, except for the last one is undoubtedly the most important thing I have learned over the last 33 years. I know what you're thinking, well, I'll just skip right to that one because he says it's the best. Please don't do that because I think that you'll find some gold in the first 32. Here we go. Lesson number one is that everything is created twice. What do I mean by this is that the external environment literally is just a reflection of the inner world, and everything that you see in your life, good or bad, first was created at the level of thought. So the place that you live right now, or the bank balance that you have or don't have, or the health that you have or you don't have, literally starts in the mind. And then as time goes on, sometimes really quickly, sometimes takes a lot longer than you think, starts to become a part of your external world, your three-dimensional reality, whatever you want to call it. But everything that you have in your life literally existed in your mind and then eventually got embedded into the subconscious mind. And then as time went on, it started to show itself. So understand that if there's something that you love or something you don't love, you could do more of what you did to get the thing that you love, and you could do a bit less of what you're doing right now or a bit less of what you're thinking right now to create the unfavorable circumstance. Lesson number two is that health is literally the ultimate wealth. I take health very seriously because I had times in my life when health was the one ball that I was seeming to drop all the time in the juggling process of balancing kind of the three key areas of your life, your health, your wealth, and your relationships, that I just realized that without your health, nothing is really that enjoyable. You could have an immense amount of material success, but if you wake up with a lack of energy, or you don't sleep properly, or you just don't feel great, it's hard to really get the most out of it because you're always secretly wishing that you just felt good. And in my experience, when you are wanting something, you're desiring something, at the end of the day, all you really want is to feel good about yourself. You want to feel good about your life. You want to feel vital and you want to feel energized. Now, health would be something that would take many more videos to really dive deep on, but I think that you could break it down into a few key areas. Your spiritual or emotional well-being, you could break it down into the foods that you eat, you could break it down into your sleep, and you could break it down into your fitness. Again, these are just four kind of core areas that I would say make up the pyramid that is your health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. But I just think that if you focused on health, if you're stuck in some other area of your life, if you focused on your health, you would kind of automatically, as a rippling effect, see whatever it is that you're dealing with start to improve. Lesson number three, and this one took a lot of emotional maturing to start to realize, because I used to just try to take kudos, or I tried to take recognition for everything that I ever created in my life, but it's that there really is a creative intelligence, an infinite intelligence, a source energy that creates all things. Now, I've never grown up in a religious household, and I actually don't follow any specific religions. I like to read a lot from Buddhism, from Christianity, from Kabbalah, from a whole bunch of different sort of spiritual or religious practices, but I actually don't follow any religions whatsoever. But that doesn't mean that I don't believe deeply in a creator or in a source. I just think that I've had so many experiences in my life where I've asked for something and it's come my way in a way that I couldn't have expected on a timeline that I just don't think I could have made happen on my own. Now, I think that whether you believe in a source or a God or an infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it, or not, I don't think it really matters. But I think that when you start to accept the idea that maybe there's more at play than just what I can create, by doing stuff with my hands, you start to surrender control. And I think that when you surrender control and you start to call things into your life without needing to know all the fine details of how they're going to happen, I think that things just flow a lot nicer. And I think that some of the worst times of my life have been when I'm in hyper fixing or hyper controlling mode. Now, how could you activate or get closer in touch with this creative source? This might be a bit out of left field and probably something that's going to take many more videos to dive deep on, but I think that we all have a creative energy, specifically creative energy that lives dormant at the base of the spine. Now, in Hindu or in the East or in Sanskrit or yoga or whatever traditions you want to call, a lot of this would be referred to as the Kundalini. So the Kundalini has been a crazy experience in my life. I'm going to make a whole other video or series of videos on this, but very, very powerful energy that if you awaken it before the body is ready, it's going to be like plugging a 60-watt bulb into 1,000 watts of energy. It's going to be like hooking your garden sprinkler system up to a fire hydrant and cranking it loose with nobody at the other end to see what's going on. It's an incredible amplitude of energy, but I think that if you can start to move this energy from the base of the spine up through the rest of the energy centers in the body, I've learned a lot of this through Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, you just start to live at different states of consciousness, and I think that you start to move closer to the source. And I think that the ideas that you have become a lot better, and I think the overall enjoyment of life just becomes, a heck of a lot greater. Number 4 kind of ties into number 3, that there's a creative energy that creates all things, or an infinite intelligence that creates all things, is that you can use the breath to activate the life force, and you can use the breath to bridge the gap between the conscious and the subconscious mind. So really, breath work is a powerhouse of a modality that, in my opinion, there's just nothing faster for changing your state, but there's also nothing faster to getting into a deeply subconscious state. If there's something you're struggling with, it's because your conscious and your subconscious mind are at war. And the breath, whether it's pranayama, whether it's Wim Hof breathing, whether it's the pineal gland breath that Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, there's just so many different forms of breath work. But I do think that it is just the ultimate cheat code when it comes to accessing greater states of consciousness, faster states of vibration, greater states of energy. The breath is so crazy because it costs you nothing. It might cost you a little bit to learn how to use it, but it costs you nothing to use it. Anytime I'm having a really, really bad day, which happens from time to time, I know that I can just go straight to the breath, and I'm a few breaths away from totally changing my state. So really, breath work is something that I would ease your way into, but in terms of activating the life force, activating the Kundalini, whatever you want to call it, it is just such an incredible modality, and one that I literally use every single day. So I would look into books like the Wim Hof method. I would look at something called 9D breath work. There's a great YouTube video or a great YouTube channel called Breathe with Sandy. I will leave all of these in the description below. I'm just a huge fan of breathwork because I think that somebody could go into it with literally no experience and have an unbelievable experience on their very first go. Now, number 5 is that life is literally the subconscious mind outpictured. Your life is not going on out there. It's going on out there as a reflection of what's going on in here. And the tricky thing about this is that based on the brainwave states that we live in and operate in, when you were 0 to 7 years old, those are like your programming years where a lot of your core beliefs and your model of the world are formed. So it takes a bit of understanding, but literally a lot of the stuff that took place in your childhood is just running the program right now, and you're wondering why at 25 or 35, or in my case 33, there are still things that I feel like I've worked on for so long and I've made seemingly reverse progress. Now, I know that this isn't actually the case, but it's just that the subconscious mind is so incredibly powerful. And it's also important to note that it's not necessarily wired for creativity or short-term problem solving. That's more what your conscious mind is wired for or designed for. The subconscious mind is literally just designed for survival. And so if there's something that you want that you feel like you've worked a long time to get, it's because you have conflicting beliefs, which we'll talk about in a moment, that are literally running below the seat of consciousness. And you have to learn how to get into that operating system to change the belief. There's some modalities that I'll suggest further on in this video, but just understand that everything that you're dealing with or living with right now or living without is literally a result of the subconscious program, most of which was programmed before 7 years old. How much do you consciously remember before 7 years old? Not much, but the body, the subconscious mind, the nervous system literally remember everything. There's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score, one of the first places I'd look if you want to dive deep on how the nervous system gets encoded at an early age. Lesson number 6 is that if it costs your peace, it is automatically way too expensive. I have had business ideas in the past or just things I wanted to try out, and the moment I got into it, I was like, I can't see myself doing this for 2 more weeks, let alone 10 more years. Those things have got to go in the garbage right away. Now, I could use a million different examples from my own personal life, but I'm just going to use grocery shopping for an example. I have 2 kids that are 5 and 7, and I literally don't go grocery shopping anymore because it just financially does not make any sense. I get into the store, I always forget where everything is. I have to ask the store attendants. I end up ordering or buying 25 things I didn't even need or didn't plan on purchasing. And my kids are like, can we get this? And they're like, Dad, when is it time to go? And I just realized that I will pay the $5 or $10 delivery fee to just have somebody go to the grocery store, get exactly what I want, deliver it to my door, and assume that based on my intellectual capital, if I spent the 40 minutes I would spend in the grocery store looking for stuff, that I could probably generate that extra $5 to $10. And if I can't, then that is my own fault. So again, if it costs you your peace or your sanity, literally just find a way to outsource it, whether it's cooking dinner or whether it's, I don't know, making spreadsheets. I have no idea, but if it's driving you nuts, either outsource it or just scrap it entirely. Lesson number 7 is that life is literally controlled by your beliefs and your assumptions. Now, we talked about the subconscious mind, how the subconscious mind and your core belief system and your model of the world literally get programmed in the early years of childhood, mostly before 7. That's because your brain is operating in a state called theta. We have 4 primary brainwave states that we operate in: delta, which is deep sleep; theta, alpha, slightly more relaxed; and beta. There's 3 different levels of beta. We don't need to talk about that now because it's not science class, but theta is important to understand. 4 to 8 oscillations or cycles per second. This is the same state that people go into when they go into a state of hypnosis, which is why hypnosis works very well and very quickly, is because the subconscious mind is very programmable. Now, kids kind of between the age of 2 and 7 are operating in this state of theta. Before that, they're in delta. After that, they're in alpha. But in those years when they're in that state of theta, I watch my kids, my son thinks that he's Luke Skywalker when we're having a lightsaber fight, and my daughter thinks that she is Gordon Ramsay when she's cooking with her play cooking set. And I just think it's important to understand that when you see that incredible imagination that children have, that's because they are always in a space between worlds and they don't have that conscious rational mind fully developed yet. So it's just so important to understand that your belief system and your assumptions are literally creating and dictating your reality. So if you have a belief that says money is hard to make, or life is hard, or all the good ones are taken, you're going to flip on a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, which is just going to go find evidence and take in information that lines up with your belief system. And your beliefs literally are so powerful that you have to start to learn how to change them if you want to start to change the things that are taking place in your 3-dimensional world. Now, assumptions, Neville Goddard was a great teacher of something called the law of assumption. And if you just start to notice that what you assume is about to take place starts happening over and over and over again, you could literally start to learn that your confirmation bias that you're building with your belief systems are just giving you more and more feedback that what you think is true is actually taking place, and you're going to find it over and over and over again. Number 8 ties into number 7, and it is that the fastest way to change a behavior is to actually change the belief that is running the behavior below the seat of consciousness. So if you constantly have something that you're doing all the time and you have no idea why you're doing it, let's just say you have a conscious intention that you're going to work out every day, but you always find yourself skipping workouts or finding a reason not to do it. It's because you have a certain belief system that's running the program underneath the surface. If you have a conscious intention to eat healthy food, but you constantly find yourself late night snacking or eating a lot of sugar or a lot of processed foods, it's because you have a belief system that's running underneath the seat of consciousness. Maybe it's something like eating healthy is too hard. If I'm going to eat healthy, I have to give up this, that, and the next thing. but you can totally change that, and you can literally wire your brain for anything. Like, I have conditioned my brain to eat healthy for so long that I don't really, care too much if I have a piece of cake. I could literally see one sitting on the counter right now from my birthday party last night. Or if I'm just gonna go in my fridge, I would just find a lot of whole foods, and I don't think twice about it. Now, it wasn't always like this, and it takes some practice at the start, but you can absolutely wire your brain to believe anything to be true, and when you believe that thing to be true, you are going to start finding yourself behaving in a way that acts in alignment with that belief system, because we always act in line with what we think to be true. Okay? Now, what are some modalities for changing a belief system? One is kind of an age-old, a bit of a slower method, but it's the same way you learn to drive a car or the same way that you learn to swing a golf club, and it's just repetition. If you do something over and over and over enough times, you will start to build a foundational belief around it, and you'll start to build a confirmation bias around it. So for example, when you learn to drive a car, you wouldn't be able to get into that vehicle and use an affirmation like, I am a great driver, because you don't know what you're doing and you have absolutely no idea how to run a motor vehicle. But if you're like me and you have a clean driving record from the time that you're 17 years old until you're 33, math would say that's about 15 years, I would just be able to get into a vehicle and say, yep, I'm a pretty good driver because, well, I have the evidence to prove it. So start building evidence through repetition and through practicing. Don't be surprised if you're terrible when you start out, but you're going to start to shape your belief system by changing your skill set, changing what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Now, there's some other modalities that I love that I would highly suggest looking into. One of them is meditation. Meditation puts you below the conscious mind into the operating system that is the subconscious mind, where you can literally reprogram what's going on beneath the surface. Hypnosis is a great one. When you get good at it, you can do something called self-hypnosis where you don't need a hypnotherapist, but I would suggest just going to someone who's trained in this modality. Very, very amazing way to change the subconscious program. Now, there's some other ones that we would call energy psychology or psychosensory techniques. Emotional freedom techniques or tapping is very good. Psych K is another one. I literally work with a Psych K practitioner all the time because I just find that it is such a fast modality and you don't have to know why the belief exists in the first place. You just have to know it's there. You have to know what the new belief is that you want to believe, and they kind of take it from there. Breath work is another one, again, because you can get into that autonomic nervous system. You can get below the surface level stuff that is the conscious mind. You can get deep into the subconscious program. There's a million more, but I'm going to leave you there so you don't feel like you're drinking through a fire hose. Number 9 is something I remind myself all the time. Assume that you don't know what you don't know instead of believing what you think is true as hard facts. So if you are struggling in some area of your life, just assume that there's some truth about that thing that you haven't quite learned yet, so you are literally living based off of your assumptions. So I just love to go into every meditation thinking like, what do I not know that I don't know? I love to open any book. What do I still need to learn? And the ego loves to assume that it just knows everything, but the odds that that is true are incredibly slim. So whether it's your health, finances, career, relationships, whatever it is, just assume I don't know what I don't know about this topic and I'm willing to learn. Starting with that beginner's mind is so incredibly important. And ironically, the most successful people that I know are the ones that are always eager to learn something new. I know people who literally are deca-millionaires that will ask me, someone who has a way less from a monetary standpoint than they do. They'll be like, how do you do this? Why do you guys run your business like this? What do you think about this versus this? And I'm like, this is why this person's so successful, is because they're so eager to learn. The kiss of death is just thinking, oh, I already know that. I have nothing left to learn. Lisa Nichols talks about attending the same weekend seminar 42 times. You'd think that after number 22, she would have just given up, but she went 20 more times to make sure that that information was wired into her nervous system. So again, if you're struggling in some area, just assume you don't know what you don't know and be willing to learn. Number 10 is that food can be medicine and food can be poison. I think that every time you eat something, you are literally just 3D printing from a cellular perspective. You are 3D printing a new version of yourself. The microbiome is such a foundation for health, for well-being, and in fact, there's so much data and research now behind how the microbiome influences our thinking. It's literally a second brain that we have going on down there, and everything that you're eating is influencing it in such a degree that you may not have ever thought to look into this. I spent $10,000 in 2.5 years learning about my gut health because it was in such a state of desperation. And this is why I take food so seriously. So again, if you're like, where do I start? Just start eating as many different colors of the rainbow as you possibly can, and pretty much assume that if you couldn't recreate it in your own kitchen, don't eat it, okay? Food and the food industry, I don't think is designed to make you well. I think it is designed to make you unwell. So understand that if you have to pop a bag open, or you have to open up a box, or it comes in some crazy shape like dinosaurs or fish, goldfish, whatever it is, don't put it in your mouth. Again, nothing wrong with treating yourself to the odd snack or the odd treat, but I just try to treat myself to 30 to 40 different sources of plant proteins, fruits, vegetables, legumes, whatever it is on a weekly basis, and assume that the diversity of that diet is going to fuel my microbiome to a way that I could assume that I'm going to be a pretty healthy individual. So again, when they say you are what you eat, it sounds so cliche, but I would dive deep on it. There's one book I would suggest on diet called Super Life by Darren O'Lean. You might recognize him from the Netflix series with Zac Efron. So fantastic. The guy is an absolute whiz when it comes to food. Number 11, and again, might come a little bit out of left field, but understand that everything exists on a form of energy, on a form of frequency, and on a form of vibration. Even Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, start to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. He understood certain invisible principles that existed in this vast universe that we live in. Now, you don't have to believe in any of this stuff, because when you walk into your room, you don't look behind the walls for proof of evidence that you have electricity. You just flick on the light switch and assume that the light bulb is going to illuminate. If you didn't believe in the invisible, then you wouldn't pay your electrical bill every month. Now, there is a whole box that we could unearth that we are not going to unearth right now, because it would be a whole other video series, lifetime of discussion on top of this. But I just want you to understand that everything is oscillating and vibrating, even in its densest form. This table is literally subatomic particles that are vibrating at a frequency that is slowed down into its densest form, which is matter. In my personal experience, the fastest way to create an outcome in your life is to vibrate at a level that is equal to that outcome. If you're brand new to this work, I would say to read some books like Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, or Ask and It Is Given by Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks, Abraham Hicks, one of those three. You should be able to find it at your local bookstore. Again, I'm not going to dive too deep into this because it's such a vast topic, but if you were only going to cherry pick one thing out of here and just turn the video off after this, I would not be offended if this is the place that you said, Kate, I'm going to dive deep on the topics of energy, frequency, and vibration. Number 12 is that happiness exists and is available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and the only thing stopping you from experiencing it is you. I think that the ego puts us in such an incredible thinking trap that I will be happy when. And the reality is that if you could just turn that idea on its head, is that when I'm happy, I will, you are going to have a way better time at Earth School. I think that happiness is a river that is flowing in you all the time. You could literally dive in any moment you want, but we start to create these mental constructs that tell us that happiness is based on conditions, and the ultimate kiss of death, which is happiness is based on my environment or my external circumstances. Now, if somebody came to you and said, hey, I found this winning lottery ticket, $45 million. I don't need it. Do you want half? You would be absolutely ecstatic all of the time. Okay? You would be just living in the state of nirvana and bliss oh my God, I have all this money. What am I going to do with it? I'm going to take this person on this trip. I'm going to retire my parents, whatever. All of those feelings are literally being manufactured from within you. Your brain is an incredible pharmacist, and your nervous system is an amazing manufacturer of these incredible chemicals that you didn't know you could create. Now, what if after 24 hours, the same person that said that they were going to split the $45 million with you came into your house with a camera crew and they said, just kidding, it was a prank video, we just wanted something for our YouTube channel. All of a sudden you'd be overwhelmed with this incredible, stack of emotions like anger or fear or bitterness or resentment or whatever it was, and you'd be like, why would these people do this to me? I was so happy and now I'm so upset. Understand that your brain is also manufacturing those chemicals as well. So you were happy for just the idea of something coming your way in the first scenario, and understand that your happiness can be completely unconditional. You can literally access those states of bliss, those states of joy, those states of awe and wonder anytime you want. The only thing that stops us from experiencing happiness 24/7, 365 is literally our own thinking. Number 13 is that self-worth is literally the root cause of pretty much every problem in our life. So if you were to look at somebody who goes from one diet to the next, to the next, to the next, and they're struggling with achieving the certain body type that they want, whatever it is, understand that maybe on some level they just don't think that they deserve for that to be an easy process for them. So they struggle and they strive and they look outside of themselves for literally every single answer that they already have within them. So your relationship with yourself, and there's a great book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay that covers a lot of this, but your relationship with yourself, your self-image, and the level of deservingness or self-worth that you operate at is such an incredible thermostat or dictator with what you allow yourself to have in your life. There's a great book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and he talks about something called the upper limit problem, which is where people create incredible results and then they all of a sudden start to self-sabotage or regress in their progress. And that is because they have literally surpassed what they think they are allowed to have. They have literally surpassed their glass ceiling or their upper limit. And so they start to cut themselves down. And you'll notice this even if somebody pays you a compliment like, hey, I love that shirt. How quick and easy is it to just go, oh, yeah, thanks. I mean, I got it on sale, or yeah, I didn't think that I really looked that good in this color. Whatever it is, you just find a way to cut down or deflect that compliment because you're scared to receive, instead of just saying, hey, thank you so much. I love it. Yeah, I think that I look great in this shirt. It's one of my favorite colors. Whatever it is, practice your self-worth. Seriously, work on this and you're going to notice so many things in your external environment change, specifically the way that people choose to treat you. Number 14 is that problems don't actually exist, but the perception of problems exists. What do I mean by this? Is that every problem that you have in your life is actually an incredible opportunity to learn and grow. It's just disguised as some impossible scenario. Think of a problem that you had in your life, whether it was in your health, in your finances, maybe you went through a bankruptcy, maybe you had a health scare or a challenge you had to overcome, and then you overcame it and you realized, God, I would not have traded that for anything. So every problem that you see in your life is just existing because you're perceiving it as a problem. And the moment that you start perceiving it as an opportunity, you start perceiving it as a gift or a blessing. They say that rejections are protections and delays are not denials. So look at the fact that good things can lead to bad things can lead to good things. The moment that you stop labeling them as good and bad and just things that are part of your existence and a reflection of your state of being or a reflection of your vibration or a reflection of your belief system, you just start to perceive things as more opportunities to grow and learn. Number 15 is that what you really want, despite the long list of things that you're trying to create in your life, what you really want is wholeness. I had this experience at a retreat in Mexico this spring where I was just overwhelmed with such a state of wholeness. It was like in this moment, it would be absolutely impossible to want anything because I feel like this feeling is the only thing that I've been looking for the first 32 years of my life. It brought me to tears of gratitude for like 40 minutes. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. No substances were involved. It was during a walking meditation in Cancun, Mexico. But I realized from this moment forward, I'm going to remind myself every day that what you want is wholeness. Now, the cool thing is that there's no car, there's no bank balance, there's no investment portfolio, there is no condo looking over the lake. There's nothing that is going to bring you that state of wholeness. All of those are great things and it's really fun to create, but why not create from a place of wholeness? Because then you lose that sense of neediness. Like, I need this thing to fill the void because I don't feel whole. Feeling whole is a skill. It's something you can practice every single day, and just remind yourself when something's taking longer than you want, oh, what I'm really after is wholeness. I can create wholeness anytime. I'm just going to choose to create it now. Number 16 is that there is a huge difference between happiness and pleasure. Please do not confuse the two. So I'm going to use two examples. One of them is happy hour. Think of the idea of happy hour. It's where you can go check out from your current reality. You can have a few drinks, maybe a few appies, some deep fried food and a couple beers, and then you can leave the bar or the pub or the restaurant, and you are going to feel happy for a bit. And then what's going to happen, you are going to go back to that set of emotions that you were trying to get away from in the first place. So I think that they should call happy hour pleasure hour, because it's where you go indulge in things that make you pleasure or make you feel pleasure, but they are not things that are going to bring you happiness. Happiness is something you cultivate from within by the person that you become. And if you're looking to play the long ball game, stop seeking pleasure. Now, the second example that I wanted to use here is the Happy Meal. The Happy Meal was a hamburger or some mechanically separated chicken. It was then thrown in a deep fryer, coated in batter, some French fries, a toy that gets played with for about 6 minutes, and a drink. So pleasure comes from dopamine, okay? The Happy Meal produces a ton of dopamine because the brain and the body love those meals that are sugar, salt, fat, whatever it is. But again, for a little bit of time, and then you're gonna feel absolutely terrible after. So I wish that they would just call it a pleasure meal or pleasure hour instead of a happy meal or happy hour. Please stop getting happiness and pleasure mixed up. People do drugs, people go to the casino, they cheat on their significant others, they binge watch Netflix, they play video games, they do all these things to try to find happiness, and what they're really experiencing is pleasure. Pleasure is super fleeting, happiness is very, very lasting. Number 17 is that if you're scared to do it, you have to do it. This is a principle that I've taught my children from the time that they are 3 years old. This is why my daughter was probably the only child in her kindergarten class that was going in the ice bath before school. And they always used to tell me, hey dad, did you go in the cold plunge today? Yeah, I went in. Oh, are you gonna go in again? No, I don't really want to. How come? Well, I don't know, I just don't really feel like doing it. Oh, are you scared to do it? Yeah, a little bit. Okay, good. Well, if you're scared to do it, then you have to do it. I think that everything that you want exists on the other side of fear. And if you know that it's something you should or could do to experience a greater quality of life, and you're literally just scared of getting started is the very thing that you should dive into head first. Number 18 is that you cannot give what you do not have, and more specifically, you cannot give what you do not embody. So this is why when people are people-pleasing, it's because they have no firm boundaries. When people are in a place of over-giving, now, don't get this confused with being generous, because we're going to talk about generosity, how incredible it is. But if you are just a doormat, it's because you're trying to give from an empty well. There is nothing wrong with setting some firm boundaries so that you can fill your own well so that you have more to give. This is why when I tell my kids, hey, I'm going to go do some breath work, I'm going to go do some meditation, I'm going to go take 5 minutes on the deck for myself. When I come back in, we're going to have a great time, but that's going to be my time. You guys can play together for a few minutes, okay? The reason I do this is because I just know that in those 4, 5, 6 minutes of me just hitting the reset button, I'm going to be able to show up so much better for them as a parent and as the leader of our household or a pack or a tribe, whatever you want to call it. You can't give from a half full well, and don't feel like it's being selfish if you text your friends and say, hey, look, I can't come out tonight. I'm going to take a night for myself. Or, hey, I can't lend you this money. I'm filling my own well right now. When my well is full, I'm going to be able to just gift you this money because it's not going to matter if I ever give it back. I don't want this to tarnish our relationship. Hope you don't take it personally. Number 19 is that knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power, and knowledge applied or implemented is absolutely power. I think that there can be a thinking trap that comes in, oh, I just need to learn more, I just need to learn more, I just need to learn more, which becomes the scapegoat for implementing what you already learned. You would notice a decent amount of books behind me, most of which I have read at least once or twice, and I think it's important to note that I always do my best to read a book and implement exactly what it tells me to do. I made a video called One Key Lesson That I Learned from Reading Over 350 Books, and at the start of that video I said, hey look, reading is great, but don't use it as a cop-out, don't use it as a scapegoat, don't use it as the escape or a way to look, productive when you're really just procrastinating on something that you know you need to do. So knowledge itself is great, but you can become a knowledge addict to the point where you just binge watch YouTube videos or documentaries or inspirational content or books or podcasts, and you know that there's a certain thing that you need to take care of or take control of, and you're avoiding it with the excuse of, oh, I just don't know enough already. I think that Ready, Fire, Aim is kind of one of my favorite ways to dive into things or learn new things, and you will just learn so much more by doing than you will by just obsessively consuming knowledge all the time if you know that you're not implementing any of it. Number 20 is that there's no failure, there is literally just feedback. It's so important to note that you can have anything you want, but you have to be willing to get started. And the reason that people are so afraid to get started is that they're either scared of failing or they're scared of what other people are going to have to say about them if they see them fail. So when you build a solid foundation of self-worth, which I think has to be like the foundation of the pyramid, you stop caring what other people think about you messing up or you failing, and then you're more willing to try new things and you're more willing to use failure as feedback. I have tried so many things that didn't work out, and I've even been publicly ridiculed by friends or family. The fact that, oh my God, you tried this. Remember when you tried this and it went the complete opposite way you thought it would? Yeah, I remember, and now I know one more thing to check off my list of things I'm gonna try or do in my life. It's just so crucial to understand that if you're not failing constantly, you're not trying enough things. And once you understand that my self-worth foundation is so strong that whether I fail or not, I know who I am behind the scenes. I have a level of authenticity that can't be stripped from me. So I'm not afraid to fail. Then you're going to be willing to go out, make the YouTube video, get 0 views, and have a great time doing it. Now, number 21 kind of ties into number 20 is that you're not actually scared of failing. You're scared of your ego or your perception by other people being tarnished. So think of the fact that, oh, I'm scared to start a YouTube channel, I'm scared to start a business. No, not really. You're scared of this predisposition idea of what you think other people are going to say about you if they see you fail. They're going to be like, oh, did you see that, so-and-so XYZ, oh, they were in this industry and then they went and started this side hustle or this other business, whatever. People love to talk when they see you failing. They don't love to talk when they see you succeeding. In fact, when they see you succeeding, they're going to go, yeah, I knew him when he was or she was so-and-so. Oh, yeah, I went to school with them. But when you announce your dream, they're just going to ridicule it. So this is why I say keep your dreams to yourself. Do not tell big ideas to small-minded people. And whatever people are going to say about you is whatever they're going to say about you. There's a great book I would suggest on this called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Number 23 is that parenting is the fast track to selflessness. As we grow up, things are always kind of taken care of for us as we're a kid, and then we reach a level of independence that starts to say, I am the creator of my own reality. Whatever it is in my life that is taking place around me, I'm responsible for. When you introduce human beings and the lives of human beings, it automatically upgrades you in so many areas of your life because you have to become an extremely organized person, an extremely empathetic person, an extremely selfless person, and what you want is no longer the most important thing. I have learned by having 2 kids, 5 and 7 years old at this point, parenting is literally my favorite thing in the world. It is my greatest aspiration to just become a professional dad and be able to pass on the life lessons that I've been able to learn that I'm sharing to this camera right now with my 2 children. It is the fast track to enlightenment. It is the fast track to selflessness. It is fast track to upgrading literally every area of your life, because life is no longer about your own needs or wants. Number 23 is that the secret to abundance is generosity. I have had times in my life where I've had so little money. I've had times in my life where I've had an excess of money, and I've realized that to truly enjoy your life is to be generous as often as you can. Now, this doesn't mean to be a doormat, because that's the opposite. That's kind of giving on a conditional level, like, okay, I'm gonna give this person this thing, but I want X in return. That is kind of going against the laws of the universe. Generosity is coming from a state of wholeness, and when you say, I'm so whole, I already have more than enough, the universe or the collective or the divine or the source or the infinite intelligence is going to say, look, this person thinks they already have more than enough. Let's give them even more to give from. If you can't give a dime out of $1, don't kid yourself into thinking that you would give, 10 million out of 100 million. It's just not reality. And my kids have grown up with a pretty good life, and that's why we try to find at least one person every single morning that we can help, that maybe lives on the street, even if it's just giving them a croissant or a scone or a coffee, or just sitting and having a short conversation with them. Being generous literally builds a magnetic personality, and people want to be around people that they feel are coming from that state of generosity, that state of unconditional giving. I love the saying that the universe gives to the givers and takes from the takers. And there's even a quote in the Bible about this that says, to he who hath, more shall be given. To he who hath not, even more shall be taken away, or even that which they do have shall be taken away. So start hathing is the moral of the story. Number 24, and this is one that I struggle with a lot, because on my journey with money and on my journey with overcoming a lot of scarcity program, is that there's literally an unlimited supply of money. Anytime I slip into scarcity, and maybe this might show up as like avoiding looking at a bank balance or delaying paying a bill or whatever it is, I try to remind myself, like, trust in the unlimited supply. Trust that the moment you let the money go, it's going to come back to you, probably in an amount greater than you could have imagined, from a source that you couldn't have expected. There's a reason why I talk so much about the belief system, because the belief system around money is literally dictating the entire three-dimensional situation that you can see in front of you. This has been one of the greatest learnings and one of the biggest lessons that I have to practice all the time, is that the more afraid I am of letting go is the degree that I need to let go even more and trust in the unlimited supply. Number 25 is that feelings are the end product of experiences. This is from Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. The emotion is the end product of the experience, and you can cherry pick any experience you want. I would suggest looking into something called the Emotional Guidance Scale by Abraham Hicks, is just understanding that there are so many different emotions that we can experience at any given time, and you can cherry pick any one that you want off the list. You could literally sit, close your eyes. What does joy feel like? What does courage feel like? What does happiness feel like? What does abundance feel like? Your nervous system can manufacture the chemicals of any feeling that you want at any time. You just have to understand that you are the generator, and if you are waiting for external circumstances to match the way you think things should be before you can feel a certain set of emotions, why not just cut to the end of the line? Why not just cut to the chase? Feel the feeling ahead of the experience, and don't be surprised when it shows up really, really quickly in a way that you could never have expected. Number 26, and I really don't want to come off as preaching, but in my personal experience, sobriety is the ultimate unlock. I think that I struggled with alcohol when I was young until about age 23. I would go out 3, 4, 5 nights a week. I would get absolutely wasted with my friends all the time, and it was really an escape from feelings that I was so scared to feel from my childhood. I struggled with nicotine for 15 years of my life. And it's been a few years now, and I'm so grateful that that is no longer part of my day-to-day. But again, it's an emotional escape, or an attempt at an emotional escape. Anytime we're using substances in an addictive manner is because we are so scared of what the feelings are that we're going to have to feel if we stopped using this thing. So it was like delivering the chemicals to my bloodstream. Thankfully, I never ventured with anything outside of those two. It was literally just me trying to avoid feeling feelings. And the moment that I committed to sobriety, which was just over a year ago, maybe a year and a half now, no alcohol, no nothing. I just started to experience life from a totally different perspective. I would say that life is easier in the long term, harder in the short term. Harder in the short term because you have no soother that you can grab to mask your feelings. You literally have to face everything head on, which can be incredibly terrifying at times. But the beautiful thing about facing things head on is that you get to deal with them at a root level. Underneath the times that I had when I was, using different things, it's like there were so many things underneath those, so many insecurities that I did not want to look at. But again, when you build your foundation on self-worth, you are not building on a foundation of sand, and you just feel like no matter what life throws at you, it might be extremely uncomfortable at times, but you just kind of trust in your ability to handle anything that comes your way. Number 27 is that when in doubt, go running with no music until you are no longer in doubt. I think that running has been so therapeutic to me. If you can't run, jog. If you can't jog, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. I don't know. But one of my favorite things to do is literally just put on my running shoes, put on some gym shorts and a t-shirt, and just start running. Running teaches you so much about yourself because you keep hitting the threshold of what you think is possible. I would suggest reading David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. It is such a glimpse into what the human body and the human mind are capable of if you can keep silencing the narrative that says, this is your limit, this is your limit, this is your limit, this is where you need to stop. Anytime I'm really stressed, I literally just love to put on my running clothes. I just start running. And if I run to the point where I planned to stop and turn around, if I can go a little bit further, I'm literally growing my brain and creating a new self. Running is just amazing, and I'm not even very good at it. Number 28 is that adventure is the essence of life. I try to expose my kids to as many new experiences as I possibly can, and anytime I've traveled, whether it's by myself or with other people, it's a constant reminder that what we really want is a sense of adventure. We want a sense of aliveness, and we want a sense of variety in our life. I think that the mundane starts to condition us into looking to things outside of ourselves for pleasure. This is why people that are at happy hour aren't actually happy. They're just trying to escape their miserable life for 1 or 2 hours where they can sit, complain to their friends about the same things that they complained about last week, and then go home to their miserable existence. I think that if you interviewed 10 of those people, probably 9 out of them would say, yes, I would like more adventure, more sense of aliveness in my life, more spontaneity, more joy. Number 29 is that sleep is a superpower. Please take it very seriously. Any time in my life when I'm trying to produce too much, too often, I have to go back to the foundation that sleep is literally the place where everything that you learned that day starts to get encoded into the subconscious mind. I think that sleep, if you are constantly lacking energy, you're just not going to enjoy your life to the greatest degree. It has been years since I've had a day where, unless I'm under the weather, which doesn't happen very often, where I've had a day where I'm like, I feel like I need to lay down right now. Gosh, this used to be every single day when I was, starting out as a single parent, and I just felt like I couldn't balance or juggle all the things that were going on in my life. And I invested a lot of time and money into sleep, even to the point where buying nicer sheets or a nicer comforter or a bigger bed or investing in a sleeping mask, whatever it is, sleep is so incredibly important. Now, I'm not a sleep expert, so I'm not going to pretend to be, but if you struggle with sleep, specifically if you struggle with insomnia, which is something that I dealt with around age 27 or 28, understand that your nervous system is constantly in sympathetic. That means that you have trauma that's stored in the body that is telling your brain and telling your nervous system it's not safe to fully let go and trust that everything's going to be okay in the outside world. So you need to get that information out of the body. There's a lot of different modalities for this: breathwork, EFT, meditation, whatever it is. I'm not going to dive too deep into this right now, but just understand that sleep is so foundational, so important. I aim for 6 to 8 plus hours a night of uninterrupted sleep. I get it probably 19 out of 20 nights. And if you're struggling in some area of your life, just know that sleep is one thing you could start working on immediately for things to get better quicker. Number 30, this is something that I recently discovered within the last 6 months, but if you want to become a new self, start dressing like that person immediately. There's a reason that even though I like the data that my Apple Watch gives me, I wear this other watch that I got as a gift. It's a pretty basic run-of-the-mill. It was given to me as a gift. It doesn't have a high price tag on it. It just is a constant reminder that I'm worthy to receive unexpectedly. I received it as a gift unexpectedly from someone who has since passed away, but I wear it every day as a reminder of my own self-worth. And I also try to dress like the type of person that I want to become. You could use AI. If you're stuck on this, just say, hey, these are some of my goals. What are some of the things that you suggest I wear on a day-to-day basis? It's literally such a reflection of your frequency, of your vibration, of your internal world. And honestly, I think that it paints a good picture of how much you respect yourself. I think that people that carry a strong image about themselves when they're out and about on their day-to-day literally is such a good reflection of how much they value themselves. And when I look at the way that I used to dress versus the way that I dress now, which is still pretty simple. It's usually like some joggers or, pants and a plain t-shirt, but I just don't wear anything that I'm not like, if I saw someone wearing that, would I think that they think highly of themselves? If the answer is no, I just simply won't put it on my body. Number 31, and my God, this is so important, is that you literally have to be it before you see it. So if you are trying to create a certain level of financial abundance, or you are trying to land a new position, or you want to become a pro athlete, whatever it is, you literally have to build that neural network in your brain. You have to teach your body and your nervous system what it feels like to be that type of person before you see it in the external environment. Again, saying that, well, when I see it in the external world is when I'll start to become it is so incredibly backwards, I can't even tell you. If you want to, let's say, achieve a certain level of abundance, you have to start acting, thinking, becoming the type of person that would be natural for before you see it in the three-dimensional world. And don't be surprised if the moment you say, okay, cool, I'm committed to becoming that type of person, you get hit with some unexpected challenge that makes you question whether this was a good idea in the first place. It's literally the universe testing you, saying, hey, you said you wanted that thing. I want to see you practice embodying that type of person even in the midst of challenges. So being it before you see it starts to build a different identity, and then you're going to notice that it's never about getting the thing, it's about becoming the type of person that having that thing would just be totally natural for. Number 32 is that your body is a self-healing mechanism. I have not taken an Advil or Tylenol probably 4.5 years. I haven't been to a family doctor since I was 13 years old, so that was 20 years ago. I just trust that, let's say you get a cut on your arm, you don't go to a doctor's office and say, hey, what do I do about this cut on my arm? Do you have something you could give me? You just trust that the cut is going to heal itself. The body loves to heal itself. A lot of the time we just get in the way of healing. I think that when we're in a state of hypervigilance or a state of stress, or that sympathetic fight or flight nervous system is switched on all the time, the body never has a chance to heal. This is why I dedicate 1 to 2 hours a day to my meditations, because I just know that I'm putting the body in a deep state of parasympathetic and I am letting it do its job. The body has such an ability to self-correct. We are the ones that get in the way with the foods that we eat or the environments that we allow ourselves to exist in, and even the thoughts that we think all of the time. One of my favorite things to just do a healing reset or health reset is just to fast for 2 or 3 days at a time. I'm not going to go into the science behind why this works. It's just something that I try to do at least once or twice a month. And if you've never tried it, give it a go. It is absolutely amazing what can take place in just 48 to 72 hours. And for the grand finale, number 33, the 33rd lesson and the most important thing that I've learned in my 33 years on this planet, and if I could leave my kids with one message, it would be this. It is that the age-old quote by Joseph Campbell, the cave that you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. We all have things that we want to create, and simultaneously there's this kind of double bind taking place where we want it but we're scared to have it. We want it but we're scared of what it's going to take to get it. And anytime I've had a major upgrade, a quantum leap, a massive shift in my life is when I've taken full control or full agency over some scenario that I was so scared of taking accountability or taking responsibility for. The cave that you fear to enter might be in your finances, it might be in your health, it might be, let's say you're on a weight loss journey, or you want to become some type of person that has a great relationship, but it means leaving the relationship that you're in right now. Again, I'm not saying you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but what I'm saying is that there are a certain set of things that you're so scared to do to get to the place that you want to be. And when you start to do the things that you're absolutely terrified of, courage is just action in spite of fear. You literally start to grow the container for what you can handle in your life. So when I started out as a single parent, it was literally the hardest time of my entire life. But now there's a lot of systems and foundations that I have in my life from a parenting perspective that certain things just don't stress me out anymore. So you literally grow your container for what you can handle in your life. The more you grow your container, the more proud you become of the person that you are. Not a false sense of pride, like ego pride, but like you actually feel secure and confident in the human being that you've become through overcoming challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge, which is literally just what life is, to the point where you become so secure as an individual that things don't seem to scare you, and you also start to trust in your ability to create and make the invisible visible. So the cave that you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. The thing that you want is going to come after a set of things you're going to do that might scare the living daylights out of you, and you're going to look back on them and you're going to say, I would never have traded that experience for anything. So right now, I want you to write down, what is one thing I'm scared to do that I know I have to do to get to where I want to go. Abundant people, successful people, over and over and over again, they do what they don't want to do to get where they want to go, and it's the person that you become in the process. So that's going to wrap up 33 of the most important life lessons I've learned at 33 years old. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't have a coaching program or a course to pitch you on. You can grab my list of 52 of my favorite books that I've ever read. There's no email, there's no opt-in. It's literally sitting on a list in a Google Doc. I hope you loved this video. Hit subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I'll see you on the next one.